This is it. A few bumps and we're hauling the mail.
What if I told you that Apollo 13, the movie that made us all say,
Houston, we have a problem,
had just as much chaos behind the camera as the astronauts had in space? That's right. The making of Apollo 13 was filled with accidents, impossible stunts, bizarre coincidences, and NASA secrets that Hollywood almost wasn't allowed to show.
shutting down the fuel cells. Did I hear you right?
Yeah, they heard me right.
So, buckle up, space fans. We're counting down 20 weird facts NASA wants you to forget about Apollo 13, 1995. Let's launch into number 1, and trust me, this countdown is about to get turbulent.
Duct tape. You need an LCG bag too.
1. The cast actually filmed in zero gravity. Let's start with the wildest fact of all. The zero gravity scenes weren't special effects, they were real. Director Ron Howard convinced NASA to let his crew film inside the KC-135, better known as the Vomit Comet, a plane that simulates weightlessness by flying in steep parabolic arcs. The cast, including Tom Hanks, Kevin Bacon, and Bill Paxton, did over 600 parabolas, each giving them about 25 seconds of actual zero-G time. By the end, even the toughest stomachs had had enough. Bill Paxton said they didn't call it the Vomit Comet for nothing. NASA later joked they'd never seen so many movie stars turning green in midair.
I've always wanted to play an astronaut. I've always wanted to shoot a vast section of a movie completely encapsulated by nothing but metal.
2. Tom Hanks couldn't stop geeking out at NASA. Tom Hanks is a total space nerd. He grew up obsessed with the Apollo missions, collected NASA memorabilia, and could name every astronaut from memory. When he got the role of Jim Lovell, he reportedly said, "I've been preparing for this part since I was 10. On set, he'd quiz real NASA consultants between takes, asked to sit in the simulator, and even made the crew replay audio from the real Apollo 13 mission. NASA officials later said he was one of the most technically curious actors they'd ever worked with. Basically, if they'd offered him a real moon flight, he'd have packed his bags on the spot.
Would you go?
I'd go in a minute, yeah.
3. The Houston line wasn't in the script that way. You know the line, "Houston, we have a problem." It's iconic. It's everywhere. But the real line said by astronaut Jim Lovell was, "Houston, we've had a problem." Ron Howard changed it to "have" because it sounded more dramatic, more in the moment. Funny thing, NASA historians didn't even mind. They admitted the movie version became so famous that now even real astronauts quote the wrong line.
The 7 extraordinary days of Apollo 13 were my last in space.
4. The real Jim Lovell appears in the movie. Here's one that'll make you smile. The real Jim Lovell, the actual commander of Apollo 13, makes a cameo in the film. He plays the captain of the aircraft carrier that greets the astronauts when they return to Earth. Yep, that's him shaking hands with Tom Hanks at the end. Ron Howard said it gave him chills to film that scene, the real man welcoming his movie self home. It's one of the coolest cameos in movie history, and most people never even notice it. 5. NASA let Ron Howard borrow real equipment. You'd think NASA would keep their space tech locked up tight, right? Wrong. When Ron Howard asked for authenticity, NASA said, "Sure," and sent over actual spacecraft hardware. The film's command module and mission control sets were built using real NASA blueprints, and in some cases, actual equipment used in the Apollo program. The accuracy was so spot on that astronauts who saw the movie said it was like stepping back into 1970. 6. The launch scene used a real Saturn V rocket. Sort of. The massive Saturn V launch sequence looks 100% real because, well, it is. NASA gave Howard access to archival footage of actual Apollo launches, and Industrial Light and Magic digitally blended it with miniatures. But here's the weird part. The original NASA film reels were so detailed that the special effects team had to downgrade them to look less perfect. Otherwise, they looked fake next to the actors.
Let's get that hatch button. The limb might have been hit by a meteor.
7. The cast was so realistic, NASA thought it was a documentary. When NASA previewed the movie, several engineers reportedly forgot they were watching actors. The mission control scenes were so precisely recreated that some thought Ron Howard had filmed inside the real Houston facility. They even recognized old colleagues being portrayed and joked, "Hey, I worked with that guy." If that's not a sign of accuracy, nothing is.
We've got a computer restart.
I'm gonna reconfigure the RCS.
We've got a pin.
8. Kevin Bacon got motion sickness, and so did the crew. Remember the Vomit Comet? It lived up to its name. Kevin Bacon, who played astronaut Jack Swigert, got sick on almost every flight. Even Ron Howard and his cinematographer weren't immune. They had to clean vomit between takes and time the camera movements perfectly to avoid floating debris. Hanks later said, "There's nothing like trying to act calm while you're holding back your lunch. That's dedication."
Hours by the checklist.
We don't have that much time.
9. Bill Paxton got pneumonia during filming. Not all of the discomfort came from flying. The spacecraft set was kept ice cold to simulate the chill the astronauts experienced after their power went out. The actors could see their breath while filming, and Bill Paxton ended up with actual pneumonia. He said later, "I didn't have to act cold. I was freezing. The realism came at a price."
We are go for launch.
10. The mission control extras were real engineers. Those background tech guys weren't random extras. Many were real NASA engineers and contractors brought in to make sure the scenes felt authentic. They even helped design the consoles, labeling every switch exactly as it was in 1970. One engineer joked, "We just played ourselves but better dressed."
We're gonna skip right out of the atmosphere and we're never gonna get back. What it was like.
11. The crew slept in tiny hammocks between takes. Filming inside the capsule was brutal. The set was small, cramped, and hot under all the lights. Between takes, Hanks, Paxton, and Bacon would curl up in tiny hammocks just like real astronauts to rest. Hanks once joked, "If you move too fast, you'd bump into a camera or Kevin Bacon's elbow."
Copy that, Aquarius.
Look like it got the engine bell too. Can you see that?
12. Gary Sinise was the only one who didn't get sick. While everyone else was fighting nausea in Zero G, Gary Sinise, who played Ken Mattingly, stayed perfectly fine. He didn't fly in the vomit comet scenes, but even during intense simulator work, he never flinched. Tom Hanks teased him, saying, "That's because he's used to playing astronauts who don't get to go," a nod to his grounded character. Sinise reportedly replied, "At least my feet are still on the floor. Touché."
Ecom, is this an instrumentation problem, or are we looking at real power losses?
13. Ed Harris trained like a real flight director. Ed Harris, who played Gene Kranz, trained directly under the real man himself. He watched hours of NASA footage, studied Kranz's speech patterns, and even learned to write on a chalkboard left-handed just like Kranz. When Kranz saw the movie, he said, "It was like watching myself from 25 years ago." He was so impressed that he later used the movie's portrayal of mission control in his own lectures.
"I'm gonna give these guys a beautiful ride."
Sure you will, Jack.
14. The actors weren't allowed to use modern words. Ron Howard banned the cast from using any phrases or slang that didn't exist in 1970 even between takes. If someone said cool or awesome, the script supervisor would yell, "That word doesn't exist yet." The goal was total immersion. Hanks later said it felt like living in a time capsule for 3 months.
It's reading a quadruple failure. That can't happen. It's gotta be instrumentation.
15. The movie accidentally predicted real NASA problems. Here's where things get weird. During production, the team simulated several what-if scenarios like oxygen leaks and power failures for realism. Months later, NASA engineers found similar issues in real training simulations. It freaked them out so much that one supervisor said, "Maybe Hollywood should start writing our safety checklists."
Houston, we're getting our first look at the service module now. One whole side of the spacecraft is missing.
16. One actor thought NASA faked the moon landing. No joke, one minor actor admitted on set that he believed the moon landings were staged. Tom Hanks, the ultimate space geek, reportedly stopped the scene and gave him a mini lecture about lunar geology. The crew still laughed about it years later. Ironically, they were filming one of the most realistic NASA movies ever made.
I look up at the moon and wonder, when will we be going back?
17. The film's premiere happened inside NASA. When the movie was ready, the first screening wasn't in Hollywood, it was at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston. Astronauts, engineers, and flight directors filled the auditorium. At the end, they gave the film a standing ovation. Jim Lovell himself reportedly turned to Ron Howard and said, "You got it right. That's the kind of review you frame." "18. The explosion sound was made from a garbage can. The famous oxygen tank explosion wasn't created with fancy effects. It came from a trash can lid and some compressed air. Sound designer Rick Klein banged metal, dropped tools, and even shook a gas cylinder to create the perfect boom. He wanted it to sound dangerous but real, like something breaking where it shouldn't. NASA confirmed the sound was uncomfortably accurate.
I want you to rip the cover off the flight plan.
With pleasure.
19. The real astronauts loved it, but not everything. Most Apollo veterans praised the film's realism. But a few pointed out that the astronauts didn't actually joke around as much during the real mission. Fred Hayes, played by Bill Paxton, said, "We were a little too busy to be that funny." Still, he admitted it captured their spirit perfectly, especially the teamwork under pressure.
Just went offline. Oh, there's another master alarm, Houston.
I'm checking the quad.
Christ, that was no repress.
20. NASA actually used the movie for training. And finally, the weirdest full circle moment of all. After the movie's release, NASA added clips from Apollo 13 to its official astronaut training curriculum. They used the film to demonstrate crisis management, communication, and teamwork. Yes, a Hollywood blockbuster became a NASA teaching tool. As Gene Kranz himself said,
Failure is not an option.
but Hollywood can help you practice it. So there you have it, 20 weird, wild, and wonderful facts NASA probably doesn't want you replaying during training hours.